see you. Here we are again, Wednesday, Yin Restorative, out of our Yoga Village Wednesday practice. So I am blending this class, 30 minutes of Yin, 30 minutes of Restorative to sort of meet the needs of both my Monday and Wednesday class at Yoga Village. So a couple of things I just want to get off the table before we start. In the studio we use a lot of props and it's very rich, and we're very fortunate to have all those props at Yoga Village. And at home we have to improvise a bit. So today you'll need at least 3 props. 2 blankets or a blanket pillow combo, something you can use, or towels, and some sort of belt apparatus. So if you don't have a yoga belt at home, no worries. You can use many things. You can use a long scarf. What I find that I saw in some of my yoga readings is that people are using robe belts from a robe at home. They're soft, they're often long, and they're durable enough. So you want a belt that can be soft on the foot a little bit. So if you don't have a canvas belt, sometimes this works. A nice sturdy scarf, or even a tie, as long as it's sturdy. A man's tie will work. So any of those options. And then some of you I know like a bolster in your practice, and if you're interested in that, and they're often very expensive, I saw a really nice hack, so to speak, on bolster usage. The bolsters that are ordered have outside strong canvases and then an inside filling. And you can order these canvas zipper covers online. They're somewhere around $12 to $15 as I explored. And then you can stuff these with old towels or old pillows or even old clothes. And you can create for yourself the form and shape of a bolster. So if you're looking to up your practice and take it to a different level, you can take that as well. As far as eyewear, you can use what we use in the studio often for darkness, a little bandana over the brow or some sort of light scarf if you have at home. And then another tool that I have at home, this was actually made for me by my mom. It's a nice little piece of cloth, and inside is some light rice. And sometimes it's very soothing for your supine positions to lie on your head. So you're welcome to have that as well. And I always keep a shawl by my mat space, because when I get to Shavasana, if I feel like I want to have a covering, that's a nice light covering. It's a little softer than a blanket. So those are my tips for props today. As time marches on, you'll be able to sort of sort your mat space out for props, and as we move along in our restorative poses, they'll be really helpful. So for Yin today, we're looking for some quiet on the mat. A little bit of peace on the mat. There was a study out of the journal Heart many years ago actually, and they looked at a group of individuals in silence in the body, and they looked at a group of individuals listening to relaxing music. And it actually showed that in the silent mode, they could release tension. The body can release its own tension within 2 minutes time. So we will absolutely find at least 2 minutes of silence on the mat throughout our practice today to kind of do that. And they do that through blood values and some other imaging apparatus, but they were actually able to see that the body quiets itself down in silence. So really looking for a silent environment today. So if you have phones on in the background or things you're going to hear, we can't hear them, but if you can hear them, see if you can just mute everything today. Take a moment. If you don't have belts or blankets or a towel at your mat, skip off now, grab something really quick, and then head back and join us on the mat space. And I'd like to give you a little food for thought today. I was doing some reading. There's some nice reading from Archbishop Desmond Tutu about this sense of quiet, of finding this inner peace. And he writes, becoming an oasis of peace, a pool of serenity that ripples out to all around us. What a nice way to be able to construct yourself right now, to find some peace, to send those ripples out to those around us. So in this age of information overload, of change, rapid change in our environment, we're not even in the studio together. This is a nice way to assist your body with finding some gentle ease and coming onto the mat. So we're going to begin today with our Yin practice. And in our Yin practice, it's quiet, it's slow and low. We're going to take a very peaceful Yin practice today. But what we are going to do with our Yin practice is we're going to look for that sweet silence. But in Yin, we're different than restorative in that we start looking for that little bit of edge in our yoga poses, in our yin practice. So before we begin, please be mindful on your mats. I'm not in the studio with you, so take care of your body. Yoga should not hurt. The stretches of yin, the opening poses in restorative, none of those should hurt. You can have sensation in yin, but it's a welcome sensation. It's a nice stretch. It's not a painful endeavor. So if you find yourself pushing your body to the level of angst, you've gone too far and you're not really servicing your body well today. So let's get into some breath work. Come into constructive rest, coming to lying on your mat space. Before you drop down into your lying space, find whatever prop you're going to use in the belt form, whether it's your belt or a tie or a scarf, and place it by your right hip. And then lying onto the mat space, find your feet on the mat, find your hands on your belly, take your feet a little wider than your hips, let your knees knock. Now here's your opportunity to use your props any way you like. You can use that eye covering over the eyes if you like. You can use a blanket on the belly if you like. But just come to a peaceful space. You could even use a blanket or a towel behind your head if you like your head, if your head's a little tilting back. You can neutralize your neck with that blanket. So coming into lying, finding a nice easy space for yourself, set this up and just take a full breath in with a nice sigh for yourself. So big full breath and a nice sigh. And then just take a moment to notice your body on the mat. Make any last adjustments. Everywhere your body touches your mat right now, you should be able to sink into that space a little bit. So make it quiet, symmetrical, sinking into the mats. We're going to start a little 3-5 breath. If the 3-5 breath, once you get into it, doesn't serve you, doesn't feel good, then just go to regular, peaceful inhalations and exhalations. So we'll take a few together and then just jump off here a little bit. So as you take a nice exhalation, inhale a nice slow breath, and exhale. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now branch off a little bit to your own space with your breath work so we can find this really sense of silence in your room. Take a moment here to notice your body as it relaxes on the mat. And notice maybe where your body isn't quiet on the mat. Are you holding tension in the shoulders or the brow? Soften as you exhale through any area of the body where you still may feel a little tense. From here, after your next nice, gentle 3-5 breath, finish it out through the full inhalation and the full exhalation, and then let your breath go back to normal. As your breath goes back to normal, if you were using an eye space, keeping your eyes closed, just reach up and drop that off to the side. You'll use it a little bit later for restorative. For yin, we want it, it's a little more active, so we don't want to get too quiet here. Heel toe the feet in. And grab your strap prop and find the midpoint of your strap prop. We're going to start our first yin pose with a big leg stretch today. So if you've had some sedentary opportunity, maybe your legs are feeling a little stiff, if you've been doing a lot of outside work, which I know many of you have been, maybe your legs are a little sore. Either way, the stretch is going to feel really good. Bending the right knee into the chest, finding the midpoint of your foot on the belt. Now, just let your knees stay a nice big bend here for now, and I'd like you to set your arms up where they're peaceful. So slide them down your tab And let your backs of your arms really collapse onto the floor. Make sure your neck is nice and long, and your belt is really just kind of being supported by the finger and thumb. We're not gripping right here onto the belt. We're just letting it sort of ride through the tips of the finger and the thumb. Take a nice breath in here. And as you exhale, get long through that right leg. So if you come long and you're feeling stress in the back of the leg, it's pretty natural for our first approach. And with a big yin stretch, we're looking for a little sensation back there, but we're not looking for pain. So coming straight for you doesn't work. Here's your pose with a nice bend in your knee. Perfectly fine. Take a big breath in, get as long as feels comfortable, and then just ride that pose out. So here we are sitting to find a nice back of the leg hamstring stretch. Nothing to do with yin. You can even close your eyes. But assess the rest of your body. I'd like the stretch to just come from the right leg. So if you're gripping your mat or tensing your shoulders, soften those. If you're pressing into your left foot, soften that. So just nice long leg. You're always welcome to extend this stretch with a long left leg. It's really not necessary unless you're feeling no stretch in the back of the leg. If you need a deeper stretch in the back of the leg, you can work the big toe mound to the back of the mat. Looking in yin for a nice stretch that is welcomed. We feel it, we get a sensation, but it's not painful. And then we wait. The yin waits to let the body react to the pose, soften around, take a nice breath in. You can use your exhalation to sort of wash over the back of the leg and see if you can coax a little bit of ease out of the back of that leg. Waiting in our yin pose for a little opening to happen for us. Now let's transfer the belt here to that right hand. And for this side, I like to take the belt for myself and wrap it around my right hand. And that prevents my fingers from having to really grip the belt. We're going to get a nice pendulum open to the right. So wrap that belt around the hand. And again, the back of the right arm is like kickstanded. It's on the ground. Take a big breath in and pendulum that right foot open as far as feels comfortable for you. So as you pendulum open, if coming open is about here and that's as far as feels comfortable, that's your pose. If you start to come off this left hip to get deeper in the pose, you've lost the pose. So you can even put your left hand right there to remind this hip to stay grounded. As you open up to this big winged pose, you're getting a nice stretch from the internal right leg down to the knee, down to the internal ankle. Once you get there, let the belt do the work. And just relax, opening up. Nothing to do. A nice open stretch here. Now that the hips have settled in, you can also keep softness in your knee. That's a modification to help this stretch open up. You can open up that left hand if that feels good. Take a nice big broad stretch across the chest. Again, the belt's just working through the hand, and some of you may want to float the leg down and let the heel rest. Now in our Hatha class, we often take this pose using the core and hovering. In restorative yoga, we're not using the core space. We're letting the body open through the connective tissue of the fascia and those joints. We're not looking to build heat with the core here. We're looking for the body to feel peaceful and open. If you get long-legged here and you feel any tension in the back space, here's your modification. And at any time, you can move away from these long hold poses and come away from them and just wait for the next pose if you're creating strain that's not welcome. You can close your eyes, take a nice breath in, and exhale, waiting just simply for the pose to do its magic. Let it arrive for you, feeling the stretch of yin. Notice for yourself when you pay attention to the silence, how sometimes you can let that right leg relax. Let that left arm relax a little more. Now to come away from this pose, we're going to bend that left leg if it was extended. Soften your right knee here and bring that right foot up to the ceiling. With a nice soft knee, we're going to transfer the belt to the left hand and wrap it around the left and start here. We're going to now get into this big outside edge of the right leg. This is your IT band. It's really strong space in the body, which connects some of the intermuscular tissues, but it gets stiff. It gets sort of tight. So opening that up is a nice way to create some more fluidity through the joint spaces of the leg. So take that leg as comfortable as for you straight, and then look up at your right toe. And take a nice breath here and drift your right toe over so that it's looking eye to eye with your left shoulder. And you should feel a seam of the outer leg. Feel a stretch. If you're not feeling that stretch, make sure you're not off your right hip. Make sure you're not too far. Just your right shoulder should land it. And maybe you can work the toe back to elicit where your stretch is. For me, it's a really nice stretch right here. You can place your left hand out on your right hand out on the mat, nice and long. And again, here's the yin stretch. Be patient, quiet, peaceful in our silence. And let the stretch arrive. Nice breath in. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Listen to the silence in your environment. Let your body drift into it. From here, we're going to create a little softness in our leg and bring it up to midline. Walk those hands to undo your loop. Bend your right knee down and just rest your hands on your belly. Feel the right leg here, maybe some opening, maybe some sensation through the right, maybe just some freedom. Just feel what it feels like for you, and then let's get into the other side. When you're ready, loop that belt again around the left and compare. Sometimes the left and right are a little different here, so be mindful if you need to be gentle. Slide your hands down your belt, and when you're ready, take a breath in and come to somewhere to straight on the left leg. So maybe your somewhere to straight here is bent, perfectly okay. Again, notice how you're creating energy in the rest of your body before you drop into this pose. You want to feel a stretch in the back of the leg. Again, it's a welcome stretch. And you want to feel not a big grip on your belts because your hands will tire, so maybe flip that belt around your hands. And you want to feel nice and long, not a lot of pressure in the right foot, and sort of an ease. You're noticing the sensation simply around the back of the left leg. Take a nice breath in. And feel that stretch as you exhale. Those of you who want to get a little longer, you can take that scissor extension by getting long in that right leg. Not necessary, just feel the stretch that's arriving for you, what feels best for you in your yoga practice. And then we drift into the silence, the patience, the oasis of peace, the ease of the yin mat. Soften your face. Notice your jaw. If you're too overextended, you tend to clench in the face, so soften or adjust your stretch. So the hamstrings are often the muscles of the legs that get tight for us. We have often very developed quadriceps, and that takes a toll on the elasticity in the back of the leg. So opening up, giving the back of the legs a nice stretch can sometimes take care of that space. Next week, maybe we'll work on the front of the legs as well. Now from here, soften your right knee a bit and transfer your belt over to that left hand. And again, take whatever shape you like. I like my belt wrapped around. The back of the arm is resting, because if the arm is up, you're using the muscles. And in yin, we really just want to kind of sink into the stretch of the pose without using a lot of muscle work. So we're not muscling through the pose. Place your right hand now on your right hip, just to remind that hip to stay grounded. Take a nice breath in and come long onto that left leg. As you come open onto that left leg, settle in, and you can put a bend in the knee if it works for you. You can get long in that left leg, or right leg, you can take the right arm out, and then you relax into the yin pose. If you're not finding the stretch, you can walk down the belt with the left hand and grip it or wrap it around a little bit lower to find your stretch. Will depend on the opening on the inner seam of that leg, what feels good for you. So just finding your stretch, nice and easy here. Closing the eyes down and letting that inner groin, inner knee, inner ankle stretch arrive for you. Now notice what's happening in the face. Soften. Maybe take a nice full breath in with a gentle sigh. And then sink into the peace, the serenity of the quiet. Feeling the sensation of the left leg stretch. The sensation is still a very tolerable stretch. It's not painful. It's easeful, just a welcome stretch. From here, soften that knee and gently bring that foot back up to the ceiling. Take the belt into the right hand now, wrap it around, let that right back of the arm hit the floor, peek up at the left toe, and bring it over the right shoulder to get into this outer edge of the left leg. You'll feel it when you get there. There'll be a sensation. If there's no sensation, make sure you're not too far or off the mat. Make sure you're grounded and the toe is really right above the shoulder space. And maybe walk your toe back to the back of your mat to find your stretch. Just notice where it is. Take a nice breath in. And exhale. Inhale here. And exhale. Sometimes some of the hardest parts of yin is to find your peacefulness while the stretch is happening. And having your mind on the mat and not dwelling somewhere else on your to-do list, we know is physiologically beneficial to the body. So give yourself this time to notice your breath, notice your stretch, and let the outside world sort of dissipate for a little bit. From here, soften your right knee, your left knee, bring it up to the ceiling, and let's unwind and bend that foot down to the mat space. Take a nice side to side. So we opened a nice big stretch for the legs today. We're going to now converse and take a nice upper stretch for the shoulder space. So what we're going to do here is roll onto your side space and come up to seated. We're going to take a nice shoulder stretch, but you want to be really gentle with this stretch in the shoulder space. If you have shoulder injuries, be very, very keen on the way you're opening the body here. I'm going to teach this to you. If you're not sure, you kind of want to see it. If you have issues in your shoulder, you can wait and then drop in. We're going to lie here down, face down. You might want to have a blanket or towel near. We're going to lie with our belly on the mat, face down. Take a little crocodile approach to your hands here and lie down on the mat space with the tops of the toes down. And you're going to take your left arm and take it out on your mat space and drop it palm side down out to the side of your mat. So you're on your left hand, you're on your right hand here. We're going to find this right hand as a plant, as a kickstand here on the side. And we're very, very slowly here with attention to the left shoulder. We're going to walk over this left hand long. We're going to come onto our left hip with bent knees. And here's the stretch to the right shoulder. It stretches to the left shoulder. Some people like a little blanket here for their head. That's fine if you like the ease of this stretch. It eases the neck space. Some of you will leave your head on the mat, whatever feels good for you. So if you're here and the intensity is too great, come back away into a softer approach or come back to crocodile. If this is a very easy stretch for you, this stretch now in your left shoulder is really combating a lot of that forward shoulder tilt that we do when we hunch over our computers or sit hunched in our couches. So this is a beautiful way to open this front of the collarbones. If some of you are feeling really at ease here, you can elongate or exaggerate the stretch, but only if it feels good. You can take this right leg up and step it back on your mat space. That creates more stretch in this left shoulder. You can also float this hand back and around to feel that stretch. So any space that works for you, sink into. You won't be here that long, just enough to open up the front of that right collarbone. Take a nice breath in. And exhale that left hand back there. You can turn the palm up and see how that feels. I prefer this pose with the palm down. If this pose feels too exaggerated at any time, this hold is too long for you, please come back to lying on your belly. Take a nice breath in and exhale. Inhale. Soften your legs. Soften your belly. To come away from the pose, we're going to get long-legged and roll back onto our belly and flip your hands back to crocodile. And just relax through that left shoulder. You can let that left arm lay down on your mat, palm side up, and let the shoulder collapse. And then to change sides, you're simply going to come to your forearms and shimmy your hips over to the opposite side of your mat. I'm going to flip around so you can see from that front side. Take your right arm out now, long on your mat space. And again, be very mindful in the transition here. Take your left hand to that kickstand space. And when you're ready, you're going to walk your right fingertips away from you and come on to a side bending knee position on that left side. So now you're getting this nice, on the right side, you're getting this nice open right shoulder space. So see where it sits for you. Make your adjustments with these long hold poses. Don't stay in these poses if you're feeling any kind of pain. You want to come away. Those of you feeling open in this pose, you can take that left foot, place it on the mat and exaggerate your stretch. You can also take a blanket under your head if you like, and you can take this hand up and back. But again, if you're here and you're feeling a stretch, a sensation, a good stretch, stay right here. Try on your mat to not always think that more is better. In these long hold poses, just enough is enough. If your stretch is there, then you're there. Now close your eyes, whatever pose you chose. Take a nice breath in. And exhale into the silence of your mat, your space. You do a lot of computer work. This right shoulder is happy. It's the opposite shape of when you're hunched over a desk or a computer, or a garden, or a mixing bowl. We all have life activities that make us go forward in the shoulder space. Now to come away from this pose, you're going to very gently, along the legs, come back to your crocodile. I'm going to meet you in the shape you're in. Coming into crocodile, lying on the mat, and just rest. You might want to take that right arm and let it drift down to let that shoulder soften. And from here, we're going to come back up into our forearms, and this is our transition to restorative. So those of you who only come for the 30 minutes of yin, turn the tape off from sound and take yourself into a nice shavasana. Those of you joining me, we will always switch in between with pentacles, so you'll know where we're at in the practice. So coming onto your mat for our nice pentacles transition. Open the legs up nice and wide. Take your arms into a nice pentacle shape. Again, you can always use the blanket behind your head. This is an easeful, and just let yourself be here for a minute. Take a nice breath in and exhale through the silence of the room. So if you can really let your arms relax here from that nice shoulder stretch. So as we shift from yin to restorative, in yin, even though we're quiet and slow in practice, we still have effort in stretch. As we move to restorative yoga, we're simply going to let the shape of the pose do the work. And we are going to really drop into the ease of yoga, into the ease of the pose. It is a different practice than yin. Even though it's quiet and slow, it is completely giving your body up to the shape of the pose. You're not working in restorative. And it works on the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest system. It's very healing for the body, really nice for the body. And almost like a Wednesday gift, closing the eyes and relaxing. Take a nice breath in. And exhale. So shifting to a more peaceful, quiet approach on the mats as we shift from yin to restorative. Bending the knees in. Turning onto the side space. Make a little pillow with your arm. And when you're ready, gently bring yourself up to seated. So our first pose of the day is going to be a simple supported back bend. Back bends open the body this direction, which sort of counters what we often do, which is forward hunching. So simple supported back bends are really healthy for the body, but they should feel good. And most times as Americans, we over back bend. We overstretch and overarch. And you just need just a tiny bit of effort to find your space. So find your blanket or your towel, whatever you might be using, and open it up to a shape that looks something like this. And as it comes into this shape, if you have never done a simple supported back bend, take a moment to watch the shape of my body, and then you can drift into your shape before you just drop right in. Those of you who are always with me on the mat in Yoga Village, I can almost see where you are in the room. Hi, drop into your pose and just feel your back bend. So as you put the blanket on the mat, the top of the towel or the blanket is going to be where you would see your mid-back. So if I could show you sitting as opposed to lying, it would come right about here on your back, in the middle of your back. And that's to achieve this gentle back bend. This is a very gentle back bend. Have another blanket or towel available if you find you need it. You're just going to kind of lie back on the blanket. And then the middle of the back hits the top of that blanket, and you let the shoulders collapse onto the mat. And there's the back bend. You'll feel the back bend in your body as your low ribs seem to puff and open. If you're too low on your mat and your upper back is on the blanket, your ribs will stay relatively flat. And if you're too high up and you're not sure where the blanket is, again, the low ribs will stay relatively flat. You want to feel a little bit of an expression of your back bends. And if you're not sure where that is, for most people, if you open your arm on the mat, that little square angle of your prop will be right at that shape. I like a simple supported back bend with my knees bent. It's very back sparing to have the knees bent. If you like to practice it another way, you can take it that way. But a nice easy approach, the arms are out and peaceful. Now notice my head shape in here, if you haven't practiced before, is nice and long. I don't have this shape in my neck. If you feel like you have this shape in your neck, don't stay in a position long like that. Get a low-lying blanket and put it back there to create a little neutrality in your neck so that your neck isn't really taking a big cervical arch. You want a nice ease in your neck space. If you notice now your place on your mat as you settle in, just find it for yourself. If it doesn't feel good, just come away from this pose and just lay off the prop right on your mat with your knees bent and your arms open to get a nice expression. That's a nice compliment to the stretch that we just had. Closing the eyes down, you can put your iPad over here. Now we're not working. We're just letting the body open itself. Take a nice breath in. And exhale with a nice sigh. Feel the sensation of quiet around you. Your upper body in this back bending shape, from the mid-torso to the back of the upper back, is the opposite shape of the way we spend most of our day forward. So it's a really nice approach to helping the body move away from that forward tilt, that hunch in the upper back. It's a nice expression for the body, but again, it should feel welcomed and received nicely. Soften your face. Take a nice slow breath from your belly all the way up to your collarbones. And as you exhale, relax your shoulders, the backs of your arms, the backs of your forearms, and your hands. Now before we transition, take a nice slow breath in. Exhale with a nice sigh. Slowly walk those feet together. Make a little pillow with your right or left hand, doesn't matter. Turn onto that side and then press into the earth. Bring up your trunk and bring up your head last. We're going to move into a simple supported supine twist. So twisting posture is really great for the body, but we want to take our twisting postures with ease. So have both of your props, your blankets, on your side of your mat, towards the left side of your mat. We're going to come into line. If you haven't practiced this twist with me before, you can take a look at the shape before you drop in. It might make you feel more comfortable. Lying onto the mat space. We're gonna, or you can take it lying and we'll go slowly. Press into to the earth, rise the hips up and shift them over to the right, just about an inch, and then walk the feet over. So your clothing is nice and comfortable, your head is comfortable. Grab onto your right knee and your left knee. Now instead of having the hands too far long or too tight in, find your Goldilocks, your middle. That's what I call it, the sort of sweet spot in the middle. And now take your right hand and open it onto the floor space to the side of you in a T shape. And feel your upper right back on the mat. This is a really important part of this pose, even though it's not the twist. The upper right back is your guide for keeping your twist healthy, for keeping your twist comfortable for your body. We're going to slowly, as we get there, drop the knees over. But I mean slowly because I want you to watch this right shoulder. If it starts to lift off the mat as you twist, you're too far. If you start to notice any uncomfortable sensation in the low back, you're too far. Remember, this is restorative. It should feel no sensation of angst in the body at all here. We want complete relaxation. You can't relax into a nice peaceful space if something in your body is picking at you in stress. So this is a restorative twist. From here, take a nice breath in, and as you exhale, start to drift these knees over to the left. Now, if you start to come over and you notice that shoulder come up or any tension before your thigh meets the floor, bring a blanket or a prop, any height. The closer you take it to your thigh, the easier it will get there for you. If you come over to the side space and your thighs hit the ground without any extension or pain in this right shoulder or in the back space, then you'll reside here. Once you get there, I'd like everyone to take a prop, another blanket, your secondary one, and place it between the knees. You want to get a nice extension from this right leg down to the right knee, as opposed to having this drop and this hang. You want to get a nice level hip shape here. It's really a nice way for the hip to sit into this pose. And then the left arm comes out to that big T shape, and there's all you have to do. Some of you might like that covering on the eyes here. And drift into the ease of this supine twist. Take a nice breath in. And as you exhale, relax your belly. Let your legs feel completely rested. If you're tensing your legs, you're never going to find the ease of the restorative pose. So make whatever adjustment you need in this pose shape. In this restorative twist, I like my gaze with my eyes closed, still centered at the ceiling. Some people like to turn their head to the right, but I like to keep the cervical neck very neutral in all my poses. I think it's just beneficial for the longevity of the neck space without the extra strain, but you can practice whatever the way the practice works for you. Let's find a little silence, a little ease in this shape. Big breath in and exhale. Now before we transition, as you exhale, take a nice full breath right up through those whole right side of your ribs. And then exhale with a sigh. To come away from this pose, take your mind's attention to your right palm. And swing it over to grab that right knee. And grab both your knees now with your hands. Bring your knees into your chest and rotate those knees back to midline. That allows the body to redirect without straining or using the core. Place the feet on the mat. Now take your props and drift them over your belly to the right side of your mat. I'm going to change this way so you can see me. So drifting your props to the right side of your mat. You may or may not use them. So if you didn't need the prop under the thigh on the other side, you still may need it on this side because our bodies are often very asymmetrical. So just have them down by the hip space where you can grab onto them. Open up your left hand to a nice T so your upper back is feeling nice and easy. Bring those knees into the chest halfway. You want to use your hands for placement, you can see. Sorry guys, drop your feet down for a minute. Shift your hips to the left a little bit and then walk the feet. This tiny little inch sometimes sets the spinal column in a better movement when we turn into the twist. Then bring the knees into the chest. And again, find that Goldilocks. Not too tight, not too loose, kind of right in the middle. Open up your left hand on the floor, turn the palm to the ceiling, and feel your left upper back. The scapular region is nice and at ease here. And that's the way it should be through the whole pose. From here, take a nice breath in. Then as you exhale, use your hands to slowly guide you over so you don't drift too fast. And as you come over, pay attention to your body's sensation. Pay attention to this left shoulder. Is it rising? If it's rising, you're feeling tension in the back. Grab a prop and stick it right close to that thigh to give you height. Those of you opening to the floor space with ease, come onto the floor space and then grab the blanket and place it between the knees. Most people, all people, will benefit from a blanket in between the knees. Otherwise, it's natural for this leg to create drag. And we're looking for symmetry in the pelvic region as you come over here to keep that SI joint nice and stable. And then open up your right hand here, close your eyes, use your bandana if you like, and then settle in to the ease of this pose. Peaceful, supine twist. At any time you pull away from the pose, if it's not working for you, should feel no pain in this pose, and ease in the opening here. So setting the props up, let your legs relax. If you find you're squeezing your blanket or straining to keep your legs at ease, that's a clue that you're not drifting into the restorative space. So as you exhale, soften your legs and your upper back. And find that resting space of the twist. So twists are really great from this lats, the muscles that connect the upper and lower torso. So we do a lot of sitting. They get sort of tight, and this is a sweet way to kind of open up. These are the muscles that help the rotation of the spine, keeping it nice and supple. Take a nice breath in and just be here a little bit. Let yourself rest. Feel the silence around you, the expansiveness across your chest, the ease in the belly space, the softness of the palms. See where your mind is at. Are you on the mat, in your silence? Catch yourself. If you start to leave that space and bring yourself back, allowing your body to receive the full benefits of your practice for all the minutes on the mat. And before we transition, take a nice slow breath in right through those whole left ribs. Exhale the nice sigh. Bring the left palm over to the left knee. Now you're lying on your right side. Scoop those knees in towards the chest and bring yourself back to midline. Undo the blanket. Place your feet onto the mats. Take a little pelvic tilt, rise up and down. Grab your right knee and your left knee and just take a nice slow roll over that smooth low back space. We had a little back bending work, opening the front body. We had a little twisting work, opening the lats. We've had some leg work today. So really some shoulder work, approaching the body both from the yin practice and the restorative practice. From here, land your feet on the mat, turn onto your side space, and press yourself to seated. We're going to take one more hold pose in restorative, moving into a supported child's pose. And I see you all in the room because I know there are some of you that this is not your favorite pose. If this is not your favorite pose because of your knees, you can lie down and take a nice supported Baddha Konasana pose, but support your legs with your blankets and take that stretch today. If you're taking child's pose with me, you want to be mindful of the knee space. So here's what it looks like. For child's pose, I like to open a blanket a little long on the mat to support the back feet and the knees. Because once you get into the pose, the weight of the body sometimes create a little tension on the tops of the knees and the feet. You'll also need a secondary blanket. For those of you who have a bolster, it might work, or a pillow, those always work. But you want to have a little height in your blanket. So create some sort of shape where it almost looks a little bit tall, like a little perch for your hips. We're going to take this child's pose in the shape of restorative. So we're not going to have space between the hips and the floor. We're going to create a support in there. So you're going to come onto all fours, bring your knees wide like your mat, and then take that little prop and drop it back there. Take a nice breath in, and as you exhale, sink back onto the prop as it rests on the body space. And then drop slowly down onto the mat. If the head does not reach the mat space, no worries. You can double stack the fists or take another pillow or prop you have around. Don't have the neck hang. See an ease for the neck. If you're in this shape and it is too squeaky on the knees, we're going to be here for a little while. Don't take this pose. Come back off your shape and maybe take that open butterfly pose that I showed before, or take a pose that you like. Many of you know your body and have a really nice practice. Take a pose right now for these few minutes that you like. Those of you staying with me in child's pose, please be mindful this is not a yin child's, so you're not floating those hips and sinking them in the air. You're creating a resting space. When the body rests, it often relaxes and opens a little bit more. So if your head is on the mat, you can have the hands up here if that feels good, or you can float the hands back to a really peaceful child's pose. Child's pose is a nice way to get into the outer hips, really exaggerates that twist. It's a bit of a forward fold as well. So it has some advantages for the body, but it should rest easy for you. If you're not there, come away from the pose. Let yourself soften. As you exhale, let your body relax. In the studio, we often do this with a lot of props. So if you're at home with me practicing and you're not finding that restorative space that you find at Yoga Village, move yourself away from the pose and take another shape for yourself. Before we come away from this pose, take a nice full breath in and exhale. Slowly find your hands under your shoulders and bring yourself away from the hips forward and come into tabletop. Shift the blanket out from behind you. Come down to your forearms. If you were lying in butterfly, bring your knees together with your hands. In whichever shape you're in, if you're on your back, stay there. If you're on your knees and elbows, just stay here for a minute. Turn those toes under a bit and take a little stretch if you cramped up on the toes, childs. From here, we're going to shift into your Shavasana space. So let's make a beautiful Shavasana space so you can sit really peaceful. Find a way to create a mat space that really starts to hone in on your Shavasana. So as we talked about props in the beginning of class, start to look around your house, which will serve you every Wednesday for your Shavasana space. So if you have a bolster or a couch pillow, you can certainly take that and place it under your thighs. If you don't have a bolster, you want your heels on the ground with whatever you put under your thigh space. If you don't have a bolster, you can create a rolled shape of a towel, of a blanket. You can also put a pillow between the blanket and create more height. You can get really creative. I'm sure you can send me some messages about what you found is working in your house and I'll share it. And then from here you can take a Shavasana straight if you like a pure Shavasana. You don't need anything under the legs. I like a restorative Shavasana because it relieves a little tension in the hip space. And then really make this sweet. Sometimes my toes get cold in Shavasana, and I know many of you that happens to, and you bring your socks for class, so you can always have your little ped socks down there for yourself. You can put a little blanket over your body space, and then you can have your prop, maybe a blanket at the top of your mat, under the head shape, right at the shoulders. You can have your bandana near when you lie down onto the mat space. Fix the clothing, make everything feel comfortable. Sometimes I put a blanket on top of the belly. I like a little weight on my Shavasana. You can place if you eventually want to try that little weighted sandbag or rice bag on the head, that's very soothing for Shavasana space. You could also use a bandana over the eyes if it's too bright. If you use the bandana over the eyes or some eye covering, make sure your nares remain open. If you close the nares or cover the nares, it's very stimulating to the brain. So you just want them open. If you put the bandana or your scarf or something over your eyes and you don't like it, just remove it. And then the hands, make sure nothing's touching the hand space in your surface. And then you can start with your hands down and then turn your palms up and bring your arms out to 45 degrees to a shape where you feel your upper back settle. So if you start here, oftentimes people's upper back is a little forward. And as you slide the hands out, right, they settle. If you come out to a T shape, that's often sort of expressive and invigorating. We're not looking for that shape. We're looking for a peaceful, sweet Shavasana space. Find it for you today and settle in. Take a minute, a little bit of time here for everyone to sort of settle in. Make any last adjustments to your clothing. You should feel really at ease here. We're going to take a nice slow breath in together with a nice quiet sigh. Try that again. Nice breath in and a nice sigh. Now bring your body into the silence of the room. And within that peaceful oasis of silence, at the bottom, the soles of your feet soften. Relax the ankles, the calves, and the shins. Soften both the back and front of the legs. Take a gentle breath in, and as you exhale, soften your belly. Let the back of your hips and waist sink into the mat with ease. Feel the upper and mid back connected to the mat space. And as you let your back drift into the mat, soften your shoulders a bit, relaxing the upper arms and forearms, feeling the backs of the hands on the mat, softness of the palms, the wispy feeling of the fingertips. Feel the stability, the calm, the peace of the steady head on the mat. Soften the brow, the cheeks and the jaw. And then soften your eyelids. Soften the muscles behind the eyes. And then notice your silence. Notice your peace. And as you notice your peace on the mat, let your mind rest into the ease of Shavasana. I'll bring you out to the sound of chimes. Enjoy. Drift. Silent. Peaceful. Now with the sound of the chimes, very gently take a nice slow breath in and exhale. Start your gentle movement away from your Shavasana, rolling the wrists and the toes, ankles, fingers. Maybe reach back like you're waking from a nice gentle rest. Flex and point the feet. And pull the knees into the chest. Give yourself a little squeeze. Do what feels good. Pick a side, roll onto your side space and feel. Just sort of think about what it felt like to spend a little hour in peaceful quiet on your mat in your body space. Very rejuvenating for the body. And then press yourself when you're ready to your simple seat. And sit well. Find a little prop under the hips if you'd like. Sit nice and tall. Keep your gaze lowered. Pull the core in a bit to get length through the body. Let the shoulders relax. Feel that broadness across the shoulders from the work we did in our yin practice. From the back bending work of our restorative practice. Different, but similar. When you're ready to close class, I like to bring the right and left hand together, symbolizing the work we do on the right and left side of the structural body. Plug your thumbs into the heart center. There's the space within. You can determine when you need silence, when it will benefit you. and invite it into your world at different times of your day. Take a nice breath in. If you like, you can join me bowing the head, connecting the mind and the heart through the hands, through doing. Thank you for practicing. Namaste. Have a really nice week, everyone. Good to see you in spirit on that, in my mind's eye. Have a nice Wednesday. Thank you.